especially since Ryan mentioned that in that email with me yesterday, Afton. All the students on this end will accept, and I actually think that may be the only permission we'll need, but we'll figure it out after the fact. We're just waiting for one more student to join us, and then we'll get going.
How is everything in Illinois?
Well, our COVID rates are kind of going up.
Yeah, I see that because I still get Chicago news on my Fire Stick TV.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And how is it down in Texas? I mean, I don't know what the...
Not good.
Not good, yeah.
I saw the other day, maybe over the weekend, there was something like 12,000 cases in Illinois in one day. And it broke my heart and just like floored me, because when I was in Chicago at the height of this whole thing, we were getting something like 4,000 or 5,000 cases. And at that point, at that time, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, you know. And then now seeing the numbers just creep up. And in Texas, I don't know if y'all know this, but we are leading the scoreboard there with cases. We have over 1 million in the state. And if we were our own country, which we sometimes think we are, we would be like the third, like, you know, third on the list in terms of positivity rate. And Texas, yes, is a big state and it's populous, but it's, you know, it has big cities and then it's very rural on the, you know, in between all of that. But community spread is truly like killing folks here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Well, I'm so very sorry to hear that. I mean, we've also had kind of high infection rates here on campus. I'm certain this is the case on university campuses everywhere, but I think we've been fortunate. It depends how one defines fortunate, but it hasn't really been explosive in the dormitories. So that's good, because that would seem to be the scariest.
Yeah.
Dorms and hospitals and nursing homes. Well, let's I think we can do this. I'm happy to see everyone. I'm happy to welcome everyone today. Before I introduce Afton Battle, I'd just like it if maybe everyone in the class could unmute themselves and introduce yourself to Miss Battle. And I think everyone knows she calls me Justin and I call her Afton. I may go back and forth. I may call her Miss Battle. I may call her Afton. I don't know. But let's first please tell her who we are, and we'll go in alphabetical order as we've done each semester. Just maybe say your name, what your voice type is, and a couple roles that you've worked on in the past.
All right. Hi, I'm Jessica Bella. I'm a soprano. I'm a senior music education and vocal performance major. Some recent roles I've studied in this course, I'm doing Iphigenia from Gluck's Iphigenia Autorid. I've also looked at Dorabella's aria in the past. I've done Barber's A Hand of Bridge, Geraldine's role, Three Sisters Who Are Not Sisters, Helen, and Ida from Die Fledermaus. I've also worked on Parto from La Clemenza di Tito. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. And Lottie.
Hi, my name is Lottie Heckman. I'm also a soprano. I am a junior vocal performance major. I am studying Susanna right now, and I've done Zerlina in the past, Sally in A Hand of Bridge, and I'm starting the Countess's arias from Le Nozze di Figaro as well.
Great. And Aiden.
Hi, my name's Aiden. I'm a graduate student. This is my second semester at ISU. I'm a baritone. A few roles I've worked on are Figaro from Le Nozze di Figaro, Johnny Schicchi and Beto from Johnny Schicchi, I'm working on Dano Fanzo from Cosi fan tutti. Yeah.
Thanks, Aiden. And Liz.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Okay. Hi, I'm Liz. This is my first semester of grad school. I'm a soprano. In this class, I'm working on Narina from Don Pasquale, but I've sung Monica from The Medium. I sang Barbarina in the Nozze di Figaro. I've studied Susanna. I'm studying Cunegonde from Candide right now. And that's off the top of my head. That's what I can think of. So.
Nice. I look forward to hearing the Candide as well. Leo. Oh, you're muted, bud.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Leo, and I'm a tenor. This is my second year at ISU. And I'm now studying Belmonte in Mozart's Empfindung aus den Serai. And I'm also studying Conte in Barbersville. And I've done Tamino in Magic Flute and Nemorino in the D'Amore. And what else? I can't remember, but yeah, that's me.
Wonderful lyric tenor repertoire.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's my distinct joy that that Afton agreed back earlier in the I don't know, late autumn. It all blurs together. I'm not sure what day this is or month this is for that matter. But it's a real joy that Afton agreed to share of her time and talents with us. And so I'm pleased to introduce her. Afton Battle comes to Fort Worth Opera as its newest general director, following development and strategic consulting work with Red Clay Dance Company, the National Black Theater, the African American Policy Forum, and Brooklyn arts and culture firm Red Olive Consulting. She was previously the Director of Development for the New York Theater Workshop, Director of the annual campaign for America's premier ballet company, the Joffrey Ballet, and the Corporate and Foundation Relations and Individual Giving Manager for the National Museum of Mexican Art in Chicago, Illinois. Prior to that, she served as the Program and Grants Manager for Bank Street College of Education in New York. She's a native of Amarillo, Texas, and Ms. Battle graduated from the University of Houston with a degree in voice performance before attending Westminster Choir College in Princeton, New Jersey, and receiving a Master of Music in Voice Performance and Pedagogy there. As Ms. Battle joins Fort Worth Opera this season, she gratefully acknowledges Angelique Clay, president of the Field Foundation, and Mila Gibson, voice teacher, music educator, and founder of Amarillo Opera, for their mentorship, guidance, and career development advice that encouraged her to pursue a path in opera and arts administration. That's amazing. It's exciting, and we're so grateful that you're here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, Afton, I was thrilled to see Angelique's name in there. I got to be a grad student with her at University of Kentucky, and she was my wife in like every opera that we ever did together. So.
Oh, I think you're thinking of Angelique Clay.
It says Angelique Clay.
Does it?
Yeah. It does. Sorry, I read my script, but anyway, I was literally going to text you before this to be like Angelique Clay. So this is happening in real time.
Real time. Wow, I should read more closely. Angelique Power is the president of the Field Foundation.
Okay. I just want to correct that.
No, yeah. She's amazing. When you said that, I was like,
really?
Angelique used to sing?
Why did he say that?
But it made sense in my mind because Angelique Clay, Black woman, Angelique Power, Black woman. And so I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
I love it. I love it. Well, I don't know. I don't know this Angelique. So
I studied with Angelique Clay. Now she's
at University of Kentucky. Yeah, she's married. Yeah, she's married now.
I studied with her for a hot second at University of Kentucky over the summer before I went to Westminster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It was before, I think she was still maybe an associate professor because Professor Robinson was still around. She was still with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's great. I mean, she's great. Angelique Clay as a singer, she's great.
She's really great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for that tangent. But back, I guess now there are so many exciting things happening in the world of opera right now. And there are so many, especially this weekend, so many exciting things happening in the world of the United States of America. And so many more things left to be done. But let's just focus in for this bit of time that we've got together with the world of opera and this exciting new post that you hold. You're the second Black woman to hold a post like this in the United States, and I think that is amazing and praiseworthy. And Fort Worth Opera, for my students, is the oldest continuously running opera company in the state of Texas. Also sometimes thought of as the nation of Texas, but it's the 14th oldest opera company in the nation. So that's a major thing. I just wonder if you'd share with us what you're feeling right now and what this role means to you, what these opportunities now mean to you, which are truly a reflection of your skills and your abilities.
Yeah, this opportunity is huge. I always knew that it was bigger than me personally. Like this moment, this opportunity is far bigger than Afton Battle, the person. It is as big as, Kamala Harris, the vice president-elect. Because in the entire history world of opera as an industry in America, as we know it, there has been only 2 Black women who have held executive leadership positions in the industry, period. And I am not by any stretch of the imagination discounting Linda Jackson. She is a phenomenon within herself. And her post was managing director for many years of Chautauqua Opera, as well as Berkshire Opera, which are great institutions. And one thing to, when you look at the construct of the organization of an opera company, a managing director is a very specific type of arts administrator, a specific type of an arts administrator. They are an administrator. They run all of the logistics, business, operational logistics of an organization, development, finance, human resources, they oversee all of that. The one thing that oftentimes is missing is the artistic component. And so to have this post as general director where I share that artistic component with our artistic director as the second Black woman in history to do that is huge, and of a historic company like Fort Worth. So it is a tremendous honor and a great privilege. It is, oftentimes I feel like the weight of the world is a little bit on my shoulders, and not in a negative way, but just in the way of leading and carving out the path for Black women in this industry, and brown women in this industry. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 women of color who hold artistic administrator positions as well. One of them was at San Diego. Now I believe she's in Minnesota. So this industry has for a very long time been run by this proverbial like ivory tower. And to be, I won't even say allowed, because I earned I earned this position, you know, to be welcomed into this industry that has been lily white for so long is huge. And I don't know if you all have seen that meme that's floating around that has like every vice president, all 46 of them, and they're white men,
Yep.
and then a man with a fly on his head, and then there's Kamala. It honestly like feels like that.
Yeah.
It truly does.
Yeah, it's amazing. And there've been ripples over the last few decades with white women assuming roles, but nevertheless, it is historic that there's finally more women of color and the second Black woman. Linda Jackson was amazing. I got to work with her a couple times at Connecticut Opera, and
Yep.
I was glad she countersigned that contract. But so Fort Worth Opera, I mean, the rich history that Fort Worth Opera has is exciting in and of itself, but the way it's leaning into the 21st century right now is equally exciting. Tell us what y'all did last. Now, see, I just said y'all. I'm from Danville, which is about 2 hours that way, but my mom's from Kentucky, so I feel like I can occasionally drop y'all into some part of speech. But you did something really special on election day as an opera company. Tell us about that.
Yes. So, I mean, listen, like we are in this world of COVID where y'all are having to meet in classroom settings like this. And it's gone on much longer than any of us imagined and any of us wanted, but this is where we are. And so if opera companies have not figured out how to pivot and how to make themselves accessible to their community, then they're going to have a larger hill to climb on the other side. So Fort Worth Opera, one thing about Fort Worth Opera is for, I mean, wow, 16 or so, 14, 15, 16 years, they were a festival season format. And what that is they truncated, you know, a stagione season, which, you know, goes over 10 or so months, into 2 months, 4 weeks in the springtime. So, you know, between April and May, depending on the calendar, they would mount, you know, 3 or 4 productions, and it was back to back to back to back. And that was really how you engaged with Fort Worth Opera for the most part, in terms of on stage. And they did some other things, concerts. We have a resident artist program. So other types of initiatives that kept them in the community and kind of on the forefront, but not holistically, and not really in a concerted effort. And so once the season was canceled for, you know, the festival season in 20, they really did a hard right and just started going all online like so many of our counterparts, right? So we have the Green Room, which is a great virtual online space that has been highlighting our festival artists. So artists who were supposed to be with us this past festival season have been graciously flooding our Green Room with beautiful artistic development and concerts and offerings from them. We did a libretto festival, libretto program as part of Frontiers, which was a program started 6 or so years ago to provide a platform for librettists to develop new works. So we had that. We had a very long, extensive, audition-intensive masterclass with Jennifer Rowley that lasted at least 2 or so months. And I say that because when I was interviewing, it was happening. I got the job, it was happening, and I've been in the job and it was still happening. So it was a long period of time. So yeah, and so all of the content had been virtually online. And then when I got here, I thought, that's great. Like, we are doing great stuff online, but how can we take what we have and really make connections with the community, really build those relationships that for me are so incredibly important, is identifying and building and reinforcing those community partnerships with leaders in the community, civic leaders, leaders of faith, all of the above. And I thought, how can we do that in a way that gets us out there, in a way that we can leverage? You can't see it now, my shades are closed, but it's like 70 something degrees. I'm wearing like short sleeves over here.
Yeah.
That we can leverage the weather when it's nice, and we can do something fun and give people live performance. And so our education manager, and I think it was Joe, the artistic director, was like, what about if we do a truck and a trailer and we just go out, into the city and do pop-up concerts? And I thought, a truck and a trailer, okay, that sounds fine, let's do it. And we really worked, this team really worked diligently and hard to put together what is now FWO, FWO Go, which is our mobile opera initiative. And it is really, truly a pickup truck and a trailer and some great AV equipment. And we launched on October 24th with a pop-up concert at several spots around town. And while we were planning that, and with all of the weight of this world around the election and all of the just dread, I think that we all kind of, anxiety that we all had going into it, I thought, how can we bring levity to that day? A pop-up. So let's go to different polling sites in the city. And while people are waiting, because we all had been hearing, oh, this is going to be an unprecedented election and all of the various ways to vote. And because Texas has its own issues, they weren't allowing ballots, absentee ballots. So it was either in-person voting, like early voting, or on the day. So I was like, let's do pop-up. Let's pick 4 sites around town, strategically placed in neighborhoods that historically have been marginalized and don't have a history of having accessibility to the arts and accessibility to this art form. And go into the communities, go to the polling sites, pull up our truck and trailer, and just add some levity to the day. Sing some nice tunes, some Broadway, some spirituals, some opera, give people something to listen to while they're waiting in line, while they're coming out. And, let's let people know that we're here, and that Fort Worth Opera is a thing, and that, we're driving around in this truck. And that's what we did. And we called it Voices for Votes. And it was tremendous. I was, admittedly a little frightened as the election got closer, just for the safety of our singers and our artists and our staff who were going to be out there, because people are crazy. And, so I was nervous and, wanted my, our artists and staff to be incredibly safe. But I thought, we're going to go out there, we're going to do our best to have a plan of action, an entry plan and an exit plan. But, we are really here not as a part of any party affiliation except the party of the party of opera.
Yeah.
So we showed up to 4 sites and they did some Voices for Votes. We got some great responses and feedback and audiences who were there to listen, and it made my heart incredibly warm and happy. And that's, that reminds me every time I see that, why it is I do what I do. And so it was great. I'm always proud of this team, but was really incredibly proud of them for that moment.
That's fantastic. You talked about bringing to the role a piece that's so frequently missing to the role of general manager, that background as an artist in the most literal sense. How do you anticipate that your experience as an opera singer and having spent a life surrounded by opera, how do you think that that's going to enhance your role as general manager down there?
Oh yeah, 1000%, right? I have y'all have experienced it when you go into an audition room and there's the panel, you know, there's the table, they have all your materials. You might have some, you know, nervous energy going in there, and you just want to perform and do your best, and you want to win the job. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they want you to win the job as well. And I've always thought, when I was singing and performing and auditioning, how much do they really know? Like, you know, like there are some people behind the table who, you know, used to have a singing career, and I always would think, well, are they a little jaded in the industry? Like it didn't really go their way. Do they have, you know, a certain preference, a type? All of these things, you know, got in my mind. And I always wondered about that. And so as an artist myself, as a singer who had, you know, an abbreviated career, but made the choice, I made the decision myself to change focus from pursuing a career on stage to pursuing a career in arts administration. So I think that cognitive decision to switch my focus allows me to see and listen to artists and singers through a lens that is completely neutral and unbiased, right? Like not shrouded with, oh, well, I can sing that, because yeah, I probably could sing it, but I chose not to. Like that was my own decision. And so as an artist who still listens to, you know, opera and still actively goes to opera and has tons of friends who are working professionals, being in the position to cast shows, to, you know, listen to singers, to offer advice and guidance, and to offer a job, I think, you know, puts me in a position above sometimes other people, I think, you know, who have an artistic mindset, but maybe also don't know the business side of it. And having both sides of that angle gives me a leg up. But also, like, I just want everybody to win, you know? I mean, truly, I want everyone to win their job, win your audition, like feel good about yourself. And that's not always the energy I feel that we on this side now of the table put out to singers. And so it might be that I am now in this position as, you know, general director, and I am able to pay it forward in a way that wasn't paid forward to me, or help to open the door, or to guide in a way that wasn't always allowed for me, that brings me peace and brings me joy. But I think that also maybe sets me apart from some of the folks who've been listening to auditions for 25 years. Also, you all have been listening to auditions for 25 years, you know, like some of these artistic directors who have been in their positions for 25 years plus, like, go take a break. Give some, you know, your ears are tired and your ears are also set. You know what I'm saying? Like, your ears are set to a sound 25, 15, 10 years ago. We are currently, sounds and people are different. The beauty, you know, is you should be listening to the beauty, which is what you want to hear. But if I've been listening to, you know, O Don Fatale for 25 years, and in my ear I have Dolores Zajic, then every mezzo who comes in singing O Don Fatale, I'm like, well, they didn't take that passage like Dolores does, you know? So there's that part of me being an artist, there's that part of me being fresh and new, there's that part of me also being young, and you know, having just a realistic view in the fact that, like, people don't look like what you want them to look like, because, you know, that we don't all look like each other. And, you know, truly having a platform to stand on and say, and someone asked me this in an interview this weekend. Someone said, we did a performance of Stone Soup Live with our local food bank, which was tremendous, cute little 30-minute children's opera. And our Sally, young woman named Flora Wall, is a Black woman. And the person interviewing me said, so, you know, we see that Sally, the woman who played Sally, is a woman of color. You know, how did you all arrive at that? And I was like, what do you mean, how did we arrive at that? She did an audition. She kicked ass. I mean, she's a great singer.
Yeah.
The voice is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we wanted her.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that Sally and Stone Soup was synonymous with anybody being any certain race, you know, or anything. So it was just, that was an interesting thing. But I guess I say all of that to say, this industry needs a little bit of an overhaul in some aspects, because there are more people out there like myself who are fighting for young singers, middle-aged singers, older singers to win. We want to hear great singing.
Yeah.
I want to be moved. I want goosebumps. I want you to tell me a story with your voice. And I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you came from. I don't care if you have $10 or $10 million. Like, that doesn't matter to me. I want this to do the talking and the walking and to make me be like, yes, you, yes, you.
And it's awesome that now there's also agency for Black artistic directors, Black general managers, right? That you have the agency, right? To be able to speak. Like, that's awesome, right? Your voice is in the room now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because so often in not only this industry, but many industries, folks pat themselves on the back for having a diverse fill in the blank, right? We are diverse. Why are we diverse? Well, most of the time, diversity comes in the form of hiring a woman over a man. And then most of those women that are hired are white women, because the diversity is the gender or the identifying gender. And then if there is a person of color, BIPOC individual who that is hired in a position of leadership, oftentimes they don't have the agency to have a deciding opinion in the matter. They don't have the agency to make their own decisions. They don't have the agency to be a part of you know, the team that is, you know, making those types of decisions about a season, or, you know, working, if you worked in a museum like I have, you know, what the next curation exhibition is going to be. And I say to people, you can have BIPOC folk in these leadership positions, but if their microphone is not on and their seat is not at the same height as everyone else, then you're certainly just checking a box. And if they don't have a voice in the conversation and in the decision making, you are certainly just checking a box. So to sit in this position now where all the decisions are mine, is slightly overwhelming, because at times I'm like, can someone help me with this? but then also it's empowering AF. Like, it's just a woman and then a Black woman that, you know, I sit here and I'm like, yes, we are going to do that. Yes, this is our season. We're going to do that. This is what we're going to do. Go let the people know. Let's make it great, you know? So yeah, it's rock star status, but it's really like encouraging. And it's one thing that I hope that I can give back to other women, other Black women, other women of color, other BIPOC arts administrators who are looking for that avenue for them, you know, to pay it forward in a way.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, thinking forward, how do you think that the field of opera is, or maybe has recently begun to and will change?
Oh yeah, it's going to have to change, and COVID has taught us that. You know, if you ask a young professional who may or may not know opera, you know, just like, you know, a young professional, what they think opera is, it's oftentimes assimilated with elitism. And, you know, for us here, like in Fort Worth, our performance hall, Bass Hall, which is great, it's a great venue, it's downtown, it's super snazzy, it's a big white building that sits on like 4 city blocks.
Wow.
And all of the major arts and cultural institutions, performing arts institutions in Fort Worth are resident companies. So you go and you ask, you know, someone at the local church, you know, do you know what Fort Worth Opera is? They might say no. And if they say yes, they might say, oh, it's, you know, this place, you know, where rich people go to do something. You know, that's just been the stigma with opera. Yeah. And some companies have done a great job pre-COVID in breaking down that stigma. And breaking down that stigma only happens and can happen when you eliminate the barrier to access. And so what I mean when I say COVID has taught us that, and COVID will force us all to change, is because we've had to eliminate the barrier of access, because the barrier of access has been eliminated for us, which is called the theater, because we cannot go to the theater. We can't gather in these big spaces that require X amount of dollars to buy a ticket, a season ticket, a pass, parking to drive to. We are all doing this. And so the access, the barrier to access has been completely eliminated. And because of that, we have been able as an industry to reach more people, because we are literally at the fingertips of anyone who is sitting at a computer. And that is powerful. And that is amazing. And you can open up the minds of more people who have not experienced opera because of the stigma that they have placed on it by just what opera sometimes tends to present itself to be. And so when you have now this virtual space where you can do great things like strip away the music and just concentrate on a libretto and the story and the storytelling, and you can do innovative things, you know, like living room recitals, or, you know, I mean, y'all know who Stephanie Blythe is, right? So I don't know if you follow her, but you should on all the socials. She plays her ukulele. And when I tell you, it's the last thing that I imagine Stephanie Blythe would entertain me with, but it is the most entertaining thing, soothing, comforting, wholesome, homey, like 5 minutes that I watch on Facebook. It's just great. And it's, you know, if that is someone's first point of entry to opera, let it be, you know. And so all of that is to say, COVID's silver lining blessing for this industry is that now we are in a space where we have to continue to have relationships and have to continue to provide online content and accessible content to everyone who we've reached in this period. Because if we pull it back and we pull the rug from underneath folks and we eliminate their access, we bring back up the barrier, and we're right where we started. So we have to change. We have no choice but to change. We have no choice but to speak to a broader audience like yourselves, a younger audience, because opera legitimately cannot survive with the patrons that it currently has. It happens, you know, to be an older demographic. We have to engage a younger demographic who have fresh ideas, who have new ideas, who know what it's like to, you know, be on your phone and multitask and do all these things, and can I keep your attention for 30 minutes or not, you know? And so we have to go into that space, and that's the one thing, not the one thing, but that is definitely the thing that we at Fort Worth Opera are really pushing, is how to remain a part of the lives of people in this virtual world that is captivating, that, you know, holds their attention, that keeps them coming back and wanting more. And then, you know, the other side of that is how we can do it in person, because I have to be honest, yeah, we're not going back in theaters for a hot minute, you know. Praise God and this 99% like success rate and a vaccine, but that's going to take some time, and people are not going to want to take it. And then it's just going to take time for people to feel comfortable in large crowds again. Yeah. And so we can't just lie dormant during that time. And this is like the best time to be busy worker bees in building, you know, the beehive, right? It's like, you know, all of the ants underneath the ground working to build that big giant like ant hive that like houses billions of ants underground. Like that's how we have to be working right now. We have to.
This week, I think I'm right. The Seattle Opera was showing, I think I just saw this on John Keene's Facebook wall this morning, but Seattle Opera was doing sort of a virtual L'Elisir d'Amore, and everything was socially distanced, and it, you know, it actually worked. And they were talking about the vitality even between, say, Nemorino and Adina, even from a distance. You know, they couldn't come and hug each other, but that energy was there. And perhaps we, because we're all longing for that connection right now, we see it. We see the connection, even with that distance.
Yes, and Jessica has a question, but what
Jessica,
I will say,
please.
what I will say to that, Justin, is it brings out the actor in everybody. Because if you know at the moment in the score, this is the big glissando that leads up to you running to whomever to go and hug them, and you physically can't do that, I bet your acting chops are going to get together. Yeah. They're going to get gathered real quick.
Absolutely. Jessica, please.
Thank you. It's been lovely to hear you speak so far. So I just have kind of like a question and like a suggestion. Has anyone thought about like doing a drive-in opera yet? Because with Biden's speech last week, like that was a drive-in, wasn't it? And if you've done the mobile opera already for the votes, like why can't you take that on the road and go anywhere and go in a cornfield and have anyone come? Nobody wants to leave their car anyway.
Jessica, do you want to come work for me? Because
I would love to.
Girl, we are doing just that. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. So there are some companies that have beat us to it, right? San Diego Opera did a drive-in. Michigan Opera Theater did, so San Diego Opera did a drive-in of Bohème. Michigan Opera Theater did a drive-through of Twilight of the Gods. They did it in their parking lot. Different experiences for every bit of the opera. Tulsa Opera did Rigoletto in a big baseball field. So like people are out there doing it. But don't sleep on Fort Worth Opera, because we too are going down that road of outdoor opera in the fuller sense of a production, semi-staged with, you know, an orchestra, things like that, at a, you know, hopefully a legitimate drive-in. This is what will make us different. Okay, is if we can pull this off, this big thing, it will be at a legitimate like drive-in, like go to the concession stand, get some popcorn, you're at a drive-in theater. But yes, I think that companies have gotten on this bandwagon with drive-in types of operas. Austin Opera has done that. Some of them, though, have been pre-recorded in another venue, and then the movie has been shown. A few of them have been live, but it is totally a thing. And I mean, it is a thing that we are kicking that water jug down the road and just crossing my fingers for success and partnership with our local drive-in, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great because A, it has to be, but also it's a great idea. Like I mean, impressed is not it, but totally on your page that you thought about that, because it is one of the first 5 things that I thought. I was like, well, this is North Texas. It can be 72 degrees on, you know, Christmas Day. Like, we have the weather at our on our side, unlike some of our, you know, northern friends and Midwest friends who are about to go into, you know, cold floor length coat time. But, you know, we have that capability. And you're right, staying inside of your car, you are in your own controlled space. So physical distancing is upon you and your 4 or 2 doors of your car, and transmitted through an FM station. You don't have to worry about the PA being loud enough or just right to, you know, reach the back row of the ball field, or, you know, what have you. And if you can project it on the big screen, it's literally like watching live theater. Well, it is watching live theater. I'm going to let you know, Jessica and all, when this happens for us.
Please.
Because it's going to happen. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. And I love that you were even thinking about that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. And, you know, might I also just ask one more thing? I don't know if this would be considered like maybe sacrilegious or something, but also is anyone thinking about doing operas in English that are traditional, that usually that's a no-no, or like bigger subtitles, somehow making it more engaging or easier to watch for younger audiences?
Yeah, that's a really great point. Our artistic director, Joe Illick, is also a composer. So we have like the best of all the worlds, right? He has done, I guess maybe about 12 or 15 titles that he has taken the full score and reduced it to 75, 80 minutes, and has transcribed it, if you will, into English for a more accessible audience. I will also say one thing that Fort Worth Opera is just really great and has done a tremendous job at is engaging the Latinx community through Spanish language operas. This year we were supposed to do Zorro, which was written by, well, it's the story of Zorro, that guy. And the composer, Hector Armeda, is Latino, and it was in Spanish. And so we've done a really great job at engaging our Latinx community here in Fort Worth, because it's a huge demographic. A couple of years ago, they did an opera that featured a mariachi band, you know, so just really doing a lot of work to engage the Hispanic community. And I don't want to lose sight of that by any means, because as a Black woman, I know and if you do economics and you study business, you will learn and know the spending and buying power of demographics. And Blacks and Hispanic and Asian Americans are the 3 highest spending powered folk in this country. Black people, Black folk are the biggest contributors to the economy in terms of spending and buying power. And so that is actually a community that this company has a very tattered relationship with, that I don't want to say aggressively, but definitely working to repair, restore, to build. I think it was 2 seasons ago, they did Porgy and Bess. So of course, you do a Porgy and Bess. You want every Black person in your community, in your neighborhood, in your city and town and state to come out and see this Porgy and Bess. But my problem always has been and will be, what do you do for that community before the Porgy? Because I know what you're doing during it. You're doing all the things. And then what are you doing for that community after the Porgy? To keep them engaged. Because if you don't do anything before and you don't do anything after, then it's tokenism. And at that point, then you deserve to lose all of their buying power. So that is something that I am working with community leaders, is to build the trust with Fort Worth Opera and the Black community in Fort Worth, because it is a large population. It is a large percentage of the population here. And we came out in droves to support Porgy. But then when the company didn't talk to the community after, and when I say talk to them, I mean continue to engage and foster those relationships. When that didn't happen after the show was over, then there's no trust there. There's no loyalty. You know, you want me to come see something else, but you didn't make me feel like I could stay. You invited me in when you did this Porgy, but you didn't make me feel like I was welcome to stay, you know, and that's really important. This class is not about arts administration, but it is a big soapbox that I stand on when it comes to community engagement and the way that we engage authentically with our communities, the communities that really are the shoulders that a lot of these companies, and especially a company like Fort Worth, stands on the shoulders of the community. You know, we're a small city here. It's not and then we have to compete with Dallas, you know, just 24 miles away. So we are held up by this community, undoubtedly. And if we don't have strong ties to the community in an authentic, genuine, meaningful way, then we're not doing it right. And so it is something that I really nail into my team, is community engagement. And now we're in a position where that is not only all that we can do, but it is all we should be doing, is restoring that trust and restoring that relationship with our community, and taking our opera truck into, you know, the deepest of neighborhoods in Fort Worth, and bringing them the best of what Fort Worth Opera has, literally to their doorstep. It costs us something, but morally it costs us nothing to do that. So they probably get tired of me on that soapbox and, you know, kind of drilling that in, but it's super important, and it's going to be what carries not only Fort Worth Opera, but it is going to be what carries almost every opera company through this pandemic. Because, you know, we're not selling tickets, and you have donors who will continue to support, but, you know, what about y'all? You know, what about young people who are at, you know, universities and colleges? What about young professionals who have lost their vitality because they've lost their way of socializing? You know, everything shut down. You know, what about those folks?
And as you said earlier with Stone Soup, casting a young soprano who won the role because she sang it the best and deserved it, period.
Yeah.
There's that, right? So we can see a Nozze di Figaro where just like our hopeful administration that's going to come into office in January of 2020 is going to look more reflective of the American experience, our casting can look more reflective of that too. We can see a Notse that is awash with ethnicity and gender, which is freaking
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because how can we, my motto, you know, for Fort Worth Opera is that we will become the people's company.
Nice.
How can we become and withhold and sustain being the people's company if we are not reflective of the community that we serve? That is another thing that I think sometimes arts administrators lose sight of, is we serve a community, and we ought to want to be reflective of the community that we serve in every way. This community here in Tarrant County literally looks like, what's that, United Colors of Benetton?
Yeah.
That's, you know, literally what it looks like. It is just an array of every, you know, ethnicity. And so if we are not truly representative of the community that we serve and reflective of that on our stage, how dare we then ask that community to come in here and hang out with us?
Right.
You know, I mean, and
it doesn't just mean continuing to program Porgy and Bess as an outreach to the Black community. So since you have so many opportunities and you're doing libretto workshops and you're commissioning new works, you've got a composer in a position of leadership, are you thinking of BIPOC operas that you're going to be like, that are in the pipeline?
Oh yes, we are definitely thinking about that. I am Grinch-like working on a proposal for the Mellon Foundation to propose a spin on our Frontiers program, which is to focus on BIPOC librettist and lyricist. Because those are the stories that resonate with each of us, you know, in our own separate individual ways. And those individuals are the individuals who should be telling that story. You know, I don't necessarily want to have, I mean, it's great music, but the Gershwins telling a story of, you know, Black folks in the South is a far stretch. They did a good job, but you know, here we are in 2021, well, 2020, and we have composers and librettists who are living Black, BIPOC, Indigenous, people of color writing these stories. So why not give them the platform for their stories to be told? So it is that, it is bringing forward the works of living composers who have written great things. Terrence Blanchard, Anthony Davis.
That's not right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you all saw it or might have heard about it. Champion was streaming recently, and Karen Slack is the one who told me about it because she was in it. That they did, it's a jazz opera. Terrence is the composer, and they did it with a smaller company in San Francisco, Paracel maybe. And it was streaming online for maybe 4 or 5 days. I'd never seen it or heard it. And I watched this story, and it followed the story of a Black boxer who had a career and was a successful, you know, boxer, but was struggling with his own identity sexually, was struggling with his own identity as a boxer. And then he suffered a brain injury, so he started to lose his memory. Anyway, beautiful story. Absolutely gorgeous story, but like those types of stories that are relevant, and everyone can find a character in those types of stories that resonates with them. I can't find a character in Rosencavalier or or Ariadne or Turandot or Trovatore that resonate with me. I can't even find a character in The Medium that I mean, you know, I would like to be able to look into the future, but like, give me a break, you know? And so these are stories that we all can dig into and say, man, yeah, I've had to experience that. And those are the stories that I want us to tell. And it's not even that we have to go searching for someone to write those stories, although we should. These are stories that have been written, that are here, like, here, take me. And I'm like, okay, yes.
Yeah. And
then, sorry to interrupt. And then in addition to that, yes, there are traditional pieces that we all love, like, right? We all love them and we want to see them. And I want to see them and I want to produce them with a cast that sings it beautifully. You know, I don't care that we are doing, you know, a Bohem and Mimi and Rodolfo both need to be of the same ethnicity. My husband is white. Justin knows my husband.
I do.
And he white, Polish white, you know, and so like
real white.
real white. Our story matters. Our story is, you know, it is Kamala Harris's story. It is, you know, the story of the couple who made it possible for me and my husband to be married, you know. So it doesn't matter who they are, and
we need that opera. We need Loving.
Yes. Do y'all know that's the story? And have you seen the movie Loving? I mean, it's so now. It is so relevant. It is so now. It is like loving a white man, a black woman in the, you know, civil rights South who had to fight their relationship and their children because what we still deal with now, you know, systemic racism and racist and, you know, people who delegitimized their relationship. Anyway, so yes, the stories of BIPOC artists telling the stories of BIPOC people, but also our traditional stories that we love and that we want to see played by whoever sings it the best.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah.
One of the best Bohems was a Bohem at the Met with Angel Blue and Russell Thomas. One of the best Bohems, two black leads, one of the best Bohems.
His voice, I mean, sorry, but I love Russell Thomas. His voice.
It's butter. Yeah.
It is butter. When he sang John Adams' A Flowering Tree, I sent him a fangirl message on Messenger and told him that recording of A Flowering Tree that John Adams is like, which was an opera commissioned to celebrate Mozart's 250th or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh. So another thing that's amazing that we get to do right now, and I wonder if you can sort of take us out on this note, is we all know the white community does a lot of talking. And the white community has been in the biggest position of power for the longest time. So it's ironic that I'm the one talking right now. But we can be on a listening tour. And this is one of the gifts that COVID has given us, right? We're in a space where we can get online and we can listen, right? I can listen to Karen Slack and her Kiki conversations and I can just be quiet and I can learn. And I can grow. I can be challenged. Not that Kiki challenges, I mean, but she does. And she frequently has people say things that
push the envelope.
And do it and should.
That
right?
tell the truth.
That tell the truth. Yeah. So and then there's and Russell has the Black Opera. It's not a podcast, right? It's on Messenger or it's on Facebook Live or something or YouTube.
So Kenny Overton has
Overton?
The Black Opera Live.
I see.
And he's making, I can't wait for this film to drop. I'm gonna try to get it on our Fort Worth Opera platform, but he's making a film about Black opera and Black opera artists. He just interviewed George Shirley and Martina Arroyo. You know, he did this other big celebration for Jesse Norman's 75th birthday. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, but it is so important for us all to be listening and growing and providing space for people to speak freely, you know? The murder of Breonna Taylor and, you know, George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery have focused our positions, our sight on the plague of systemic racism in this country, and the plague of that racism that is disproportionately focused on Black and brown people. And so if we love our brothers and sisters and, you know, people who identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, if we love those individuals, we ought to be more than willing to provide them a platform and a space to speak freely without hesitation, without judgment, and to listen. Oftentimes, Black people, brown people are given that platform to speak, but those who give that platform are not always there to listen. They're there to, oh yes, and oh well, I did this. And sometimes and I'm like, no, sometimes you just have to stop. You just have to be quiet and listen, because there's always the interruption. There's always been that interruption in life of, you know, the young people, the kids, as I call them, like to call it, you know, mansplaining and white-splaining. You know, there's always just been that that syndrome of, let me lessen your experience by trying to make it mine as well. And I'm like, nuh-uh, no, never. And the biggest, not lesson, but the biggest kind of mirror of that is 52% white women who voted for 45 in 2016 increased themselves to 55% who voted for 45 in 2020. On the other side of that coin, Black women undoubtedly vote in the 90 percentile with their morals. That's all I'm going to say. They vote with their morals. And someone asked me, why is it that Black women oftentimes are the saviors of the democracy? And I said, because we have to be, because it is rooted in our very being, and it goes back to slavery, and it goes back to women who were wet nurses for, you know, their master's house, and it goes back to Black women who produced milk and had to breastfeed, you know, white babies. That was us saving, at that time, you know, white America. And so we vote with our morals because we have to vote for our Black men who have either lost their lives or lost their right and or privilege to vote. We do it for our children, and I don't even have children, but I have a nephew and I have cousins. We do it for our parents who were fortunate enough to see a Black president and are fortunate enough to see a Black vice president. We do it for our ancestors who were not fortunate enough to see themselves represented in the highest position in the land. And we do it for those who are coming after us, because it's clear that if we don't, it's clear if we don't, 55% of white women won't. But I tell you what, not only did Black women show up and show out in this election, the Latinx population showed up and showed out in this election. And I have said over and over and over again, the power that those two communities have together would literally be like an atomic bomb on this country. It really would be a beautiful atomic cleansing bomb on this country. It would be lights out, truly. But so yeah, we're all on listening tours, like, you know, just up and down, and there's so much more to listen to. And I hope that we don't lose sight of that just because, you know, we are on, you know, pandemic fatigue and, you know, this, that, and the other, because unfortunately, we have mourned the death of, you know, individuals who've lost their lives most recently. And you kind of, you don't forget about it, but it's like this neutral place, and then something else happens again, you know, and it's just like again. And I wish that we could get to the point where there wasn't an again. And we never will get to that point where there's not an again if we don't have these types of conversations. But if there are people, if there continue to be people who are not like yourself, Justin, and those of you in this class and others who are willing to listen and be a part of the healing and the recovery versus a part of the continued Ferris wheel problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could not be more grateful for the joy to see you in this position and to join us and to celebrate changes that are happening and will continue to happen.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate the opportunity. It truly is a joy for me to speak to young people and young singers. I have missed singing for so long. I haven't sung, what year are we in, 2020? I'm not going to date myself, but it's been a hot minute since I've been on stage, and I've missed it. And it truly is my joy to talk to and hear young singers. It brings my heart an incredible amount of joy. And if there's anything that I can do for any of you here on this call, please let me know. I will say this to you. We have a great 2021 online calendar that we were just talking about before I jumped on this call that we are planning. And I would love to extend the invitation to each of you to join us in a couple of those panels. Just to give you a little tease, they will be, one of them will be geared toward languages. So like French art song, German lieder, Italian, just the world of Italian art song and arias, but breaking it down to that Verismo style and that bel canto style, but working with some really great coaches who are masters and experts in that field. It steps away from opera, which I think is fantastic because I love an art song and a recital. And so that and other online master classes that we'll be having in 2021. Would love for you all to join us and be a part of that if you're interested. Please, I would love that. If there's anything that I can do, if you just want to schedule a time and want to sing something, get some feedback, I would love to be able to provide that and help be a part of that for you all, not only in this time, but when everyone's looking forward to getting on a plane and you want to come down to Fort Worth. We'll be looking for resident artists soon. Yeah, I'm here to also support your growth as an artist and as a musician and as a singer. So if there's anything I can do to return this favor of your time, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Afton. Let's all unmute and thank Ms. Battle for spending time with us today. It's great.
Thank you.
Now we look like one of those Biden, you know, everyone.
Those.
I love them too.
Except I don't have my mask with me, but they're like, ah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Afton. It's been a real joy to get to hear you and to celebrate with you. And thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Please, Justin, feel free to pass along my email address to your students here. I would love to hear from each of you, and if there's any way I can help, I'm definitely here to do that for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Why don't y'all stay on and I'll type it into our chat. But thank you so much, Afton.
Thank you. Y'all take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you again.
Bye.
Woo, that was awesome. Okay, so FWOpera.org is the Fort Worth Opera website, and then let me just it's just, this is easy. Afton at FWOpera.org is Ms. Battle, and her last name, so it's Afton Battle. Sorry, should have been a capital B, wasn't. Thanks for staying on later today. I appreciate it. I know we've gone over. It seemed like the most amazing. I could have listened to her talk for another 3 hours. Would have been amazing. Y'all, take advantage of some things that are on. I mentioned it because she and I see each other on there a lot of times, but on Facebook, and I know y'all aren't down with Facebook anymore, it's like old people stuff, but Kiki Conversation is something that's on Facebook, and you can join it. It's on every Thursday night at 7 o'clock, and that's with the goddess soprano Karen Slack. You should hear her. You should do the listening experience that Afton was talking about today, because she has Black artists on nonstop, and it's not exclusively Black artists, but boy, you learn a lot, right? And you hear things that you just didn't know. And then the other one that I was talking about, which she corrected me, is Kenneth Overton, is, and I don't know if it's all one word, it probably is, but Black Opera, and I'll type his name. And that, you'll just have to search for it to see what it's on. I don't know whether it's YouTube Live or Facebook Live. It's one of those things. I'm so grateful for this semester. I was very anxious about what fall of 2020 was going to be like, and I'm grateful for this. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop recording. Oh, God, I'm still recording. Ah! All right. Jessica, I think you just got a job, so that's pretty cool. It's great to see all of you. If you need anything, call or text, all right? Bye.